Okay, back in the garden, showing you what's going on with some of my projects. This is the corn situation. There's some sorghum mixed in here as well. That's coming up a little later, but you can start to see it already blooming back there. And anyway, this was all just thrown on the ground and onto a not a tilled lawn. I guess I did have some barley growing there before, so I'm, slowly and without much, never having tilled this area, building this up, and also hopefully training some corn in a landrace to grow this way. It'll probably be a combination of two things: the soil getting better simply from having stuff being grown in it, and the seeds or the genetics sort of gradually adapting to whatever allows it to grow using this sort of method of just throwing it. So, survival of the fittest. You can see there's some pretty good stuff going on. It does seem to be, this area of the garden gets significantly less light, so it's a little patchier. It's also closer to trees though, so maybe there's some beneficial things. This middle patch, I would say, is the least green. Here you can see the leaves are looking pretty good. And I've got some squash and stuff in there as well that you can see. It looks like some animal, or maybe just, I don't know, a storm when I was gone came and did something. So I was gone for 2 weeks, and apparently it didn't rain hardly at all during that time. And so this is all just letting it grow as is to see what happens. Survival of the fittest. And this is, a pretty difficult thing that I'm asking it to do, to grow this way, with the roots situation being what it is of corn. But it really does come in a full patch, and just basically, I don't consider the grass here to be too much of a problem, because I can hopefully get fertility to it other ways, but it basically seems to be coming in just fine. It's like it's a cornfield, a diverse one, of course, since this is some pretty mixed up landrace genetics. This is sort of the most mixed up period, I would say. Anyway, yeah, here's some sorghum coming in as well at various heights. So sorghum coming in with lots of variety as well. So it'll be really exciting to see what happens here. I might add a little fertilizer to this corn. There's some sort of, I think that's moschata. The color, I'm a little surprised by the color though. Anyway, cool. Some of this stuff is like F2s of stuff from Row Seeds 7 Company, for example. So as far as squash, yeah, that's coming in fine. Here's a zoomed out view. Here's what I assume will be a pretty good stalk of corn, or cob of corn, although it's not really near anything else, so I wonder. The color, the leaf, it's pretty green. Let's see what the roots look like down here. I mean, it kind of just looks like corn that's been planted by digging into the soil, into tilled soil. This is not too much different. So something cool is going on. And, it may just be the fungal connections, I guess I'm doing something right here. It could be selection as well. A combination of those two things. Can't stop it. Asparagus looking just fine. give me advice. I don't really know. I mean, it grows, and you know, from what I understand, you're supposed to let it fern out kind of the first couple years, and so that's what I'm doing. Right? I would assume it needs plenty of photosynthesis to get going. Let's see. Here's this sesame plant. Some genetic variation going on. I don't know if I must have something good going on. I thought I started with sort of basically a monoculture, but of sesame seeds. I've not done too much mixing with the genetics, but this does look kind of different from the other couple that I have growing. I threw out a lot of sesame seed and I have not had much return on this. I think I maybe only have like 6 sesame plants growing. So, and not very close to each other. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, it's still, you know, it's alive, it's in the ground, it's doing what it's doing. Let's see. This is some red cootie saved seed that I planted. At a certain point, I had a lot of my maximas, Cucurbita maximas, that sort of died. I don't know what it was, but you know, a lot of them were dying, and so I was just like, you know, I'm just gonna plant a bunch of them, you know, direct seed a bunch of this stuff, because it's just like, man, I gotta give it a second chance at least, you know. So this is a race for earliness, you could say. Here's one. It's weird. I don't know. That doesn't really look like red cootie to me at all, but maybe, I don't know. Red cootie I don't think is a hybrid though. Anyway, who knows? There's a patch of tomatoes here. Here's, just planted a bunch of broccoli here. We'll see. This is Moshada Loft House Landrace. That's doing its thing there. Soybeans. There's definitely something eating the soybeans. Let me get over there so I can show you. And this is the soybean sort of experiment landrace that I'm doing, where I've got it mixed in with undomesticated soybeans. Well, so this thing here. And anyway, yeah, I think it's the rabbits. There's a baby rabbit, you know, so what can I do? Gotta give it a place to do its thing. You know, and I'm like, whatever happens, happens. Because this is, you know, I'm trying to test for some genetics, right? So maybe there's something genetic. This is basically a mashup of a whole bunch of different soybean varieties, then mixed up with wild soybean. Let me show you what the pods look like. So there's a wild soybean pod. Anyway, and those, yeah. Focus. So yeah, stuff's getting eaten up a little, whatever. Survival of the fittest. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I've been growing these two together. So far I haven't really noticed any crosses, but maybe it would be best to look on the wild end of things rather than on the domesticated end of things. I mean, so for example, here's one. I don't know, this might be, although the pods look kind of small. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens going forward with this. The wild soybean grows really easily. That's one you can definitely just throw on the ground and it'll do its thing. So, try mixing in a little of that with your soybean landrace, if you dare. I know there's issues. It's like, does it create poisons or something? Okay, so it's like 2, maybe 3 cobs, all coming out of one thing there. There's one there at the end. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying here? debris. I just noticed that. Huh. Well, probably not a bad sign. Let's see. Something that's done really badly is cucumbers. This is not all about, showing my wins, but also a few struggles. But it's, they're not dead. But they are obviously getting wilted, bacterial wilt or something. I don't know, related to the humidity, I'm sure. But it does seem to be weird because certain plants are stronger than others, and even among, this is not landrace stuff right here. This is all named varieties down here, and then there's some Japanese ones down there, and they're down but they're not out, and so production is a little spotty, a little slower than it usually was, but I don't know. Watermelon seems to be doing great. You give it lots of water. I don't know, this is the first year I've tried irrigating watermelon. Yeah, I know it seems crazy, but it's like, I guess I always sort of expected stuff to just kind of grow, and I was like, didn't realize that these modern plants are very weak. Anyway, so lots of cool stuff going on here. I had some loft house cucumber, and again, you can see sort of a similar thing going on here, down but not out on these sort of damaged cucumber leaves, but they still produce. It's a little trickier to find though. It's not just like they're popping up into your field of vision. Anyway, peppers are doing absolutely fine. Nice deep green leaves and plenty of fruit. Nothing eating it. Heirloom tomatoes are obviously, suffering, but still producing all the same. And again, down but not out. I think that at a certain point it does just come down to sort of the strength of the plant. And so here's what I mean by that. I think I planted 2 of this. This is a Japanese F1 hybrid cucumber, and it's just, still cranking stuff out. I took seeds from this already. Some stuff got so big that it basically, was seed level cucumber when I was on vacation. So that's cool though. It's already got seeds off of this. This is like a real banger of a plant or something. I don't know. I'm not sure why it's doing so well. And its brother died. Okay, hey, heirloom tomatoes, getting a little eaten up, but we're growing organic here, and they taste fine structurally. They produce that tomato that you want. Anyway, another one that's doing real poorly is melons, but the strongest melon out of the bunch has definitely been Korean melon. You see this here? There's one there. There's some on the other side here as well. Anyway, yeah, the Korean melon, I'm excited to grow again. Here's another one. It's quite prolific. Here's one. Here's another one. Here's another. Right on the very next node here is another melon. It's like, that's crazy. That one, I don't know, that's the color of that one. Usually they start green, but what do I know? Anyway, that should be cool. I'm saving some seeds from that. Hopefully with some that's been mixed with some other melon pollen, because it's doing really well. So definitely replanting this. I think this might be an F1, so this is actually cool, because even the saved seeds themselves will go off in lots of different directions, hopefully. Tobacco. These got planted really late. It's middle of August. Anyway, yeah, I think I'll still get some seed off of these. And this is a landrace that I've been growing, just a real mix. It's a lot of pest pressure on these things at the beginning, but I'm letting that become a problem that somehow figures itself out breeding wise. I'm not sure exactly, but it's like, people used to be able to do this. People used to grow this stuff in much simpler times than we live in now. And I think part of that was because they were just relying so much on saving out seeds from genetically diverse populations, land races, and whatnot. So, let's see. Here's another Maxima. I forget what this is called, but this is another Japanese one, I think. A named variety, though. I'm, at the named varieties stage of my Maxima seed saving. Other than those, I guess the red curry. If those are, I think that's just I don't think red curry is that one. Anyway. Again, yeah, more Maxima. This is stuff that got planted out real late. This has always been kind of a touchy spot here. This is kind of the neglected area of the garden because it doesn't get a ton of sun with this going on here. The sun kind of goes this way. So, but they're really looking good and growing a lot every day. So we'll see what happens. They produce. Here's one. Looks like this recently just got pollinated, so that's cool. And there's another one here. No, it's maybe a male flower. Got some cucumber that just kind of popped up here. So good luck to you. Let's see, will it make seed? Hey, if not, keep trying. Cucumber is one that I would like to try grafting. Or obviously, selecting towards a tougher root system with the cucumber. But if we take a little walk here, you can see some cucumbers that come up just having seed dropped on the ground. That might be it for now. Oh, here's another one growing next to a soybean. How cute. Soybean, again, this is just a seed that got thrown on the ground. And, there's something there. I make sort of vague trails, straight lines. I typically try to go about 4 feet wide. And then nobody except me, it seems, can tell where they are. And it is a little jacked up. I don't really walk around here too much. Anyway, you can probably see it better like over here. There are these sort of naturally occurring indentations. So those are sort of my walk areas. I got my walk and don't walk areas. Okay, here's a bunch of beans that I planted. This is supposed to be this whole square here of beans, and only some of them came up. I planted them right before vacation, I think, maybe. So these are probably pretty tough little guys. This is a loft house one, so there's quite a bit of genetic variation. So a lot of the leaves are getting eaten by some animal, maybe the rabbit, but whatever. I'm sure something will make it. And yeah, it looks like some turnip, maybe. A few other things kind of starting to come up here. A lot of this is the result of just the Founders Mix stuff that I go around planting as well. Is that some daikon? Or no, that's maybe mustard green. I guess we'll see what it is. Some turnip. I know I planted some of that as well. So it's cool because if you save seeds, you get a lot of them, and then you can kind of go buck with it. Especially, these genetically diverse varieties. Some will definitely work. And since their parents are mostly, domesticated other versions of whatever you're growing, you get a lot of different chances to see what's working and what isn't. Okay, this, I think is some Maxima. And, you know, I don't know, it's a little pokey, but it is making fruits, so that's cool. Patty pan, F1s. Let me show you these. Yeah, this is some F1 that I got from Johnny's, I think. So, you know, it bangs because it's, you know, squash, which is, you know, already bangs, plus F1 vigor. But yeah, they look really cool. Beautiful. They taste pretty good raw too. Here's that other sesame I was telling you about. Lots of pods. Looking good. Sesame is really fun to grow. Usually I spent a little bit more effort and gotten, you know, like a nice stand of sesame the past couple years, and I just didn't do it. I kept kind of throwing the seed around, and it really only took in a few places in the garden. This is actually on top of my attempt at the hugel culture mound, which is weird. It's growing super well here, but not much else. I don't know. Go figure. Again, you know, this is all really about just seeing what works and what doesn't. Here's some more. These are some Maximas. Again, some stuff I put in late because I was just like, I want to get some mix of Maximas, but I had some real bad luck at first with them. Maybe something about starting them later in the season seems to be advantageous. But that's sort of the fun thing to go forward. This is my first year really growing Maximas earnestly, and I've learned a lot, and I'm stoked because they are delicious.